Let's try again. Hi. Hold on just 1 second for me, because always got some kind of something going on with the Facebook stuff. Just give me 1 second. Okay. I just don't even know. I really don't even know. I swear this happens every time with Facebook. Gosh, love them. Let me see what's going on. Okay. So it appears to be that it's working on this one, but I don't know. You know what? I don't even care. We'll switch it up from there. All right. What I was wanting to get into tonight is I've been doing a lot, and I mean a lot of research on excuse me, secular, because it just bothers me. It's used so much around where I am, and it's almost an insult. So I mean, it's like if you're not doing what let's say if you're not belonging to a certain group, or anything you do outside of that group is secular. By definition, and most people don't understand this, is they're preaching about secularism, and I'm dead serious that they really have no clue what they're talking about. Because I can't think of a person, not one person I know that's not secular. I mean, you can go back through, this word is so convoluted through history. It's ever changing, and it's kind of like those people who literally read the Bible and then they go, well, this is what this verse means to me. So I mean, that's kind of where we're at with it, and that's just telling it as the truth for what it is. I mean, you just can't switch it around, and I know it's confusing, and I know it's supposed to be, but I'm still trying to fix this Facebook feed right now. So just give me a second. I'm trying to do it as quick as I can. Good Lord, it's almost your birthday. Well, happy birthday to me, right? Let me get over to, I'll tell you what. While I'm doing this real quick, I most certainly can run a commercial for my friend and great guy. I had a copy of it with me earlier, and I've done put it down somewhere else. I read it all the time, but this is for Minister Corey Thomas's book. It's called Sound Advice, and it's something that to me is really, it's just amazing. I can't say much without adding spoilers to it, but let's just say it's a fresh take, and might change the way some of you look at music for being what we're getting into tonight is being what most people call secular, and I'll get back to it after this commercial.
Author, evangelist Corey Thomas, a dedicated servant leader whose weapons are spiritual in nature and volatile in impact. Hot off the press, author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Matthew 5:13, ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost his flavor, wherewith shall it be salted? It's author, evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Purchase your copy to help maintain that flavor in your spiritual walk. This book is epic. It's sold on every major online bookstore, or go to CoreyThomasMinistries.com. I got my copy. Be sure to get yours. It's author evangelist Corey Thomas's new book, Sound Advice, Music and the Battle for Your Mind, Body, and Soul. Get your copy today.
All right. I think I finally got it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. Let's get into this if we can. And I'm going to change some lighting around. That always comes in as a good help as far as I'm concerned. I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts tonight, which is always Run DMC. It's Run DMC. And I guess that counts for tonight because he is now Reverend Run, which is spectacular. All right. Admittedly, when I start talking about secular, and this was a little bit uncomfortable with me to start off with, and that's why I was starting off kind of slow, just figuring out exactly how I wanted to do it. But I wrote out a bunch of stuff earlier, and I also got some notes. I do a lot of research when I do everything because people in every walk of life, and especially if they don't like your version of something, even if it's the truth, they're going to discount you all along the way. I get that constantly with my testimony or my story, and it's I got to a point recently which was fantastic. I was talking to my friend Erica Burke, and I was like, when all these people question my testimony, I mean, what happened to me is I died. I literally died. I got the blessing of talking to a nurse the other night that was one of the ones caring for me. And, she was in disbelief that I'm sitting here and able to do the things I do and talk and walk and live in this life that I've been blessed with. And she flat out said it was bleak. She's surprised I'm still here, and more than that, she's blown away that I'm still here. And that's what gets questioned a lot is, is he making this shit up? And I don't make up anything about what happened to me. Because most of all, when I first got in the hospital, I came to a realization that I had done this to myself. I did not pity party. And, you would think that you're faced with your own mortality and you're going to say, why has this got to happen to me? Why has this got to happen to me? I don't know what went on inside me, but I was able to sit there and say, I did this to myself. And that is what it is. Sorry. This tonight's brought to you by Dream World Limited Edition Coca-Cola. I have no idea what it's supposed to be, so I'm not even gonna try. But getting back to it is, it reminds me, and I'm not in any way comparing myself to Christ, but it reminds me of every one of Jesus' miracles. There were people, they were doubters, they were just saying he was just full of it. I mean, period. That it wasn't real. They discounted everything and everything and everything. And when I was talking to Eric, I was like, the more they question mine, and I'll be blunt, it really did used to take me off a bit. And what do I do or say about that? My response now is nothing. They're not hurting me. They're sitting there and they're literally saying, God didn't do this. This never happened. Don't believe in miracles, I guess, but these are the same people who are walking down the street saying praise Jesus to rip off people. And I should expect no less, but that's the thing that was so joyful to me. And like this big breath of air was sitting here saying, I don't really have to care what these people say anymore. So when I'm getting into that, I'm saying we live in a world and a time right now where people, they just question everything. There's so much hate and discord in what's going on right now. It doesn't matter if it's left or right or whatever else. I mean, we are in a situation now that I think we all need to take a healthy break from left and right because it's not making a difference. I mean, seriously, it doesn't matter what Donald J. Trump does. It doesn't matter. He can sit there and he can, as he said even before he got into office, that he could sit down in Manhattan somewhere and shoot somebody and still be cheered for it. That's life, and that's unfortunately it's true. But so what I'd said here originally was, admittedly, definitions suck. They never satisfy everyone, and worse than that, they often bore. But the hard part is they're unavoidable, and they're going to be unavoidable. So here we go. What does secular even mean? The short answer is secular means non-religious. And just start thinking from there real quick. It means non-religious. Yeah. Okay. So what then does religious mean? Well, religion, as all scholars of religion know all too well, is notoriously difficult to define. I know in my own situation is I used to say, and this is back when I was still I was still drunk, and I'm religious. I believe in God, but again, I didn't practice religion, and I most certainly didn't even know how to pray. So you add that together, and that's what is religious to anybody? Who's to say who's religious? I mean, I was reading today about prosperity theology, for example. The Joel Osteens, the Jim and Tammy Faye Bakers, the to a more extreme level, Jim Jones, and so on like that. And I didn't realize this. This was new to me, but I'm one of those people who likes to feed my head. So I'm not just sitting here telling you all stuff that I'm making up to get everybody to fall into my agenda, because my agenda is strictly God's agenda. When He woke me up, when He reconstructed me from nothing. I mean, I'm just telling you, I was not supposed to be here right now. I'm not supposed to be here. And that's the absolute truth. My word to God, it's the truth. Now, when He brought me back at first, I was like, oh, I got to love everybody. I've got to do, what this pastor's saying, what this pastor's saying, what they're saying on TV and everything else. And also to get my heart broken a bunch of times, because it amazes me how many people are out there taking the Lord's name in vain to fit their own agenda, for their own selfish needs, wants. It's wrong, but it's not gonna change. So long as what they count on is ignorance being bliss, if you will. Ignorance is bliss. What they say and what they do is the word of God. So they're constantly, when you go through prosperity theology or even stuff like these faith-based anything, faith-based this, it's a faith-based honor, it's a faith-based rehab, it's a faith-based playground, for goodness sakes. Good family entertainment. We've seen throughout history what good family entertainment is. I mean, it blows me away now seeing some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes at Nickelodeon, for goodness sakes. There's just a reality to it. As long as there's free thinking humans in the world, there's what agenda? So we've got to look at agenda. My agenda is actions. I do what I say I'm going to do. It's like, yesterday I got on the whatever it is, my final graduation for my psychology degree with my minor in substance abuse, or I call it concentration on substance abuse. But anyway, I'm on the honor roll, and that's not something to brag about. This is coming from somebody who was supposed to be dead a year ago, and is sitting there saying, if you don't believe in hope, I believe in faith. because I know hope's a great thing. It is, but I have the faith when all this stuff is changing and going on in my own personal world. It's faith that brought me back to life, and that faith never lets me down. So I can go on forever about so many things, but I really want to strongly say that most people don't get. And um, I don't have triggers. I don't have cravings. I don't drink. I sucked at drinking. I was a terrible drinker. And when you worship that bottle, because it truly is what it is, it's worshiping a false idol. Because you're thinking of that bottle before you're thinking about praying. You're thinking of that bottle before you're thinking about family. And you sure are thinking of that bottle before you think of God until something really bad happens. It's either dead, jail, or rock and roll, right? I didn't experience that where I came out and felt like I was this beacon of the Lord when I got out of the hospital. And um, no, I've sat here and learned. I listened to what he told me to do, and I've gone back to school because I've been. I don't even know how to say it. Delegitimatized so many times. He's not legitimate. He don't know what he's talking about. He's just a drunk, and that's great and all. And I already had 2 college degrees behind me in the first place. But then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what God says. I'm going to go to pay it forward. I am, matter of fact, taking a pay cut to do what I'm doing. And that's no bother at all to me. It's not. My desire and the path God left me on, He didn't leave me on. He showed me the right path after so many years of going this way, that way, this way, that way, that way, looking like I'm running from an alligator. um Now on the right path, I do want to pay it forward. I've got the experience. Well, it's good to have the experience to kind of get it what it's like to be a, a, a substance use disorder person. And that does help because it helps you to get back on that level. I really believe, and I believe this strongly, is people. I'm not sure. I can't judge this, but I know from my own experience that whenever I dealt with somebody in counseling or therapy or psychiatric stuff, that those that had never been what they love to call an addict or alcoholic, simply no form of education can teach you that lifestyle. It's organic, if you will, but it's like eating a organic mushroom that's poisonous. Um, so going from there, I wanted to legitimize myself by pushing my education into a realm where I can truly help others as is, but where I can help others through what I've learned, experience, Christ, and education. I've learned stuff already that I didn't know that I probably thought I knew, but I didn't know. I mean, I took an emotional intelligence test, and I scored out the wazoo. I mean, it's not a graded test, but it's basically who you are as a person. It's an IQ test for morals, ethics, emotions, and that was really one of the first times I realized, holy crap, every time I was out there drinking and acting foolish, I was going against everything that at core I knew was the right thing to do. I wasn't doing that. So, point taken there. So, I'm reading from Dr. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to slaughter. I'm reading from a doctor. And all right. However, in social sciences, when trying to describe religious life, we refer to the 3 B's: belief, behavior, and belonging. Religion generally involves 1, 2, or 3 aspects to varying degrees, and depending on the religious tradition or culture at hand. Um, by belief, we mean belief in supernatural beings such as God or God, spirits, angels, demons, jinn, etc., as well as non empirically verifiable realms such as heaven, hell, etc. As for behavior, we mean things like ritual performance, prayer, holiday celebrations, fasts, feasts, confession, but mitzvahs, the myriad things people do in relation to the religious beliefs. And by belonging, we simply mean identification with or membership into a religious community, tradition, denomination, or congregation. So to be secular under these definitions would mean a person does not believe in the spiritual beings, entities, or realms. A person does not emerge in religious behaviors, and a person does not identify as religious and is not a member of a religious community. Um, to be secular, going on into how many ways this can be interpreted here, is to maintain a naturalistic worldview in which belief in anything is always proportioned to the evidence available. It is about engaging in a variety of activities that are understood as this worldly and to identify with or be a member of non religious groupings or associations. I'll stop there. So, when I get called secular, it's because I curse. I'm Generation X. I really don't make excuses for it. When I get really bothered by something or entangled in something, I will curse. And the thing that I can't get across to anybody is I never curse at anybody or put a curse on somebody. It's contextual, and I don't think people really truly understand what context means at this point. If somebody can tell me at some point, sometime, somewhere, somehow, who invented these bad words, because I can tell you in being a transplant from Scotland that their version of cursing is very much different than our version of cursing is. It's different everywhere. It's when Richard Nixon was talking to the Vietnamese a long time ago, and Richard Nixon's like that all the time. Trump was doing it too. That's basically the same thing as flipping somebody off in that culture. So I'm not defending myself. If you don't like it, you don't like it. If you don't curse, you don't curse. I don't like certain words people call me. I think secular is a dirty word. And here's why. The same people that are calling me this are the same people that are running on their platforms, which is Democrat, Republican right now, mostly Republican, mostly I am a Democrat, so I'm getting Trump forced on me by this religious right, this far right, extreme religious, what they say is Christians. And they're the same people who will tell you right now, and I've heard, I've heard it in the last couple of weeks. Um, Something or other secular. I mean, something. It can be some just kind of music that I can't draw secular out. If you paid me to do it, I could write a research paper and figure out how Bon Jovi talking about always loving somebody secular. Um, I, I, I just can't do it. And to me, I think when the definition gets twisted, this goes way back to, I mean, even in ancient Rome and Greece, especially, is where secular really came from in the beginning, and that was anything really not of the gods. But we in America, particularly in America, we live a secular lifestyle as according to this definition that the hardcore, mostly the prosperity theology or the hellfire and brimstone churches are teaching is just, it's ridiculous. They get out and they get in there. Let me think of it for Nicholasville, because everybody knows Nicholasville, Kentucky. I take a huge issue. It's like you walk into a different world of a culture that's very, very strange. And What I mean by that is the same people that are preaching secular are getting out and, they're not really expensive, but for some reason, all of them drive like 10-year-old BMWs. And, the list goes on from there. Now, they'll wear religious clothing or they'll get religious tattoos. And a lot of them are putting the money first and their influence first and their power. I know that I never thought I would have a problem with non-denominational churches until I truly got the reason for what a lot of them do that for, and that is to literally so they cannot be held accountable. And this type of stuff is what really bothers me, is because they say they speak directly to God from God, and that's it. And they leave Jesus out of this whole mix. So where is this going? It's a thing of power, and it's agenda. It is just straight up agenda, and that's the truth. So when some people that used to be in my old group, they're always screaming secular. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but they're screaming secular. Uh, Half of them are having premarital sex. Um, it's just this weird dynamic where they think if you read the Bible and you're reading the Bible that you can't possibly be a secular person. I'm wearing a Run DMC shirt right now. To some people, that makes me secular. I'm wearing a New York Yankees hat. That makes me secular. If I turn this TV on and I'm not putting it on HLN, no, that's headline news, whatever it is, one of the religious channels that makes me against secular. If I put on my shoes, if they say Adidas, if they say Kohan, I'm being secular. If I wear my prescription sunglasses, I'm secular. I'm drinking a Coca-Cola, that's secular. And this is what it's getting thrown around. So it's a bad word, and everybody's got to be secular so that you're held accountable. Two people who like to use the word secular, and guess what they're using it for? They're using it, it becomes a control mechanism at that point. And I'll tell you what, your actions mean a whole lot more than what you're wearing as a shirt. I mean, if there's a guy on the street who uh, can't afford to buy a shirt and somebody gives him a shirt, it happens to say Budweiser on it, does that make him a secular or drunk? No. It's just so easy, and it's so abused is the biggest part to it. It's abused. Secular would have to be, when I get through all these definitions, it would have to be done by actions and not by what somebody else doesn't like. I'm telling you, it's agenda building thing. So you get stuck into that one church that wants you to believe what they believe and whatever is going to benefit them the most, profit them the most, and it goes from there. All right. This is funny. These are what I mean, it's not funny, but it's true. These are what some of the people that throw around the word secular are saying. They're saying when you're secular, you tend to engage in a minimum amount of such religious activity, and you do so for reasons other than religious faith. You do it because you dig the food, or because it makes your partner happy, or to please your in laws. That's a lot of the reason people go to rehabs too. So, all right, everybody that goes to the faith-based rehabs must be secular. I'm not trying to overuse this word. I'm drilling it in because there's a reason. Okay. As for belonging, secular people see themselves primarily as members of the human race or of particular nations or of given racial ethnic groups, or soccer teams, or of political groups, or of social movements, or of occupational associations, or motorcycle clubs, or hiking clubs. In short, secular folks associate with a host of various social groups and organizations, but none that are religious in nature. So, every one of you that are on social media, that includes Facebook and everything else, if you carry a real estate license, you belong to the National Association of Realtors. If you're in Lexington, Kentucky, and the surrounding areas, you belong to Lexington Bluegrass Association of Realtors. Hey, right now, your favorite team, mine, the Yankees. I'm secular. And here's the best part. If you belong to, all right, racial ethnic groups, okay? So if you're a member of BLM, Black Lives Matter, you're secular. If you're of any given, it's just pitiful, man. I mean, you can't join. If you join a soccer team, you're considered in that club. Um, Skateboarding is going to make you secular. I mean, by the definition that a lot of people are using today, and this is why it's so important, by the definition they're using today, you can't do anything outside of that rinky dinky little building where it's a con job going in the name of God, and that is truly using the Lord's name in vain. I've been telling somebody about using the Lord's name in vain recently, going over and over it again, and this blows people's minds because nobody wants to get it. I guess everybody's stuck in this principle that if you say GD, that you're taking the Lord's name in vain. Anything not of God, using God's name for self benefit, for self agenda, for selfishness, or just to get your way, is using the Lord's name in vain. When somebody's saying praise Jesus while they're taking advantage of you at the same time, that's taking the Lord's name in vain. So I make mistakes. I'm human. I make mistakes. Most of us do. And that's not the point. My actions, I have a sister who goes to Africa every year to do surgeries, to give anesthesia to people that are in dire need of surgeries for cleft palates or for other things that they can't function right and they're not. And, you know, but according to her lifestyle, she's secular. And what she does is always giving back, always giving back. We had another family member who didn't have a way to have a vehicle. This sister decided, you know what? I don't need this vehicle. I've got another one. Take this one. They didn't have a house. Okay. I've got a house. I don't need another one. Here's a house. These are actions that this person in particular wants nothing back in return for. I'm the same way. I don't do things wanting something back in return. I don't. I've helped out plenty of people in the last year, and I'm not upset about it. And really, if they don't appreciate it, they don't appreciate it. You can't force somebody to appreciate anything. But I'll tell you who does appreciate it and who does judge, and who can absolutely tell you if you're secular or not. That would be Jesus. And but the farther we've gone in the last several years now, the further away we pushed Christ out of the picture. I'm not the beacon of Christianity. Quite frankly, right now, I don't want to be. The sister I told you about that, is constantly, she constantly does good deeds. I mean, seriously, it's ridiculous. And nothing in return, doesn't even talk about it. Um, she is scared, bothered by the Christian church because we let so many of these people just run free, run their own little show. They don't put God in the picture. They put themselves first, they put their church first. And think about how many people will tell you that. I know here in central Kentucky, people say, man, I really needed some Southland today. That's the name of a mega church around here. And not like, and this is every Sunday, and the same people the rest of the week are, putting up pictures of them out partying, smoking pot, whatever. And I actually don't care if somebody smokes pot. That's from my psychology side that can actually be pretty beneficial in the grand scheme of things. Um, and especially medicinal. And I'm sure somebody's going to complain on me saying that. I don't care. So we go through all this of wrong and right, and I'll get back to it. And it would be the hurt part of me that would say, okay, I'm secular, and you claim that God gave us Trump. Seriously, um, wearing a MAGA hat's secular. Um, I mean, it's just an endless list. And that's, if you think about it this way, this endless list can fit anybody's agenda at any time, whatever they want to fit their agenda. I drive a Cadillac, you don't. But if you go buy a Cadillac, that's secular. Unless that Cadillac is made by some entity that none of us can see or know. Just live your word, man. Live by actions. It's really, and I know I go roundabout. I know I hit rabbit holes constantly, but I really get up in arms about this stuff. Um, I mean, literally, I'm somebody who gives and gives. I know some people that I've had some disagreements with in the last several months have been these people I've done whatever I can for, and it doesn't matter. It was my actions spoke for themselves, but those actions weren't good enough because somebody else's agenda is more important. And that's cool. I mean, it's dandy. I just hate seeing so many people get taken advantage of in the Lord's name, and the frustration that comes from it is I am somebody that gets frustrated. So somebody sent me something the other day, about the angry Christian. It's not that I'm angry. It's that I get fed up with everybody sitting around and saying, well, I got to be a bystander and turn the other cheek. That's not, no. God doesn't call everybody to turn the other cheek. When you literally sit there and know a crime is happening, if you know somebody's being abused, or you know somebody's being hurt, or you know this person walking down the street, one of my friends that's a girl, let's say, and she tells me that, oh, I met this new guy, and I know this guy's got convictions for everything. I mean, I'm talking 10, 20 felonies, and a lot of violence towards women. Now, according to some, you're not allowed to say anything about that because that's gossiping. For me, I don't gossip. I'll say it right to their face. Please leave her alone. They don't. They don't. It usually turns both sides against me, but I do not see it. If I'm wrong, I welcome anybody to correct me that actually has any kind of theological knowledge. Not somebody that heard it from a friend of theirs that you don't talk about other people, even if they're demonic. It's like how the devil circles around us. Um, it's just like that lion waiting to pounce, isn't it? But those are things that just bother me. And I know tonight's not my regular thing, but I just really wanted to cover this because it's gotten so just out of control. Um, I mean, seriously, just think about it this way. You can't watch cartoons with your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, nephews, anybody, because it's secular. Now, you can take them to church, shut off everything at home, kind of adopt the Amish lifestyle, then you're okay. Then you can, I guess, talk about what others do wrong. But to me, it's take a long, hard look in the mirror. Like I said, where I don't gossip, I say the same thing to people all the time. They're so concentrated on what's secular, and they're at home having them, drink, sleeping with the next person they find handy. And, but that's just all they say because that's, all right. Um, Now, this is what I got the most out of here when I was reading. Um, it's are those that are throwing around that word secular so much is what are they so angry about? So is secular motivated by anger? Okay, here's a story for you. Chickens are famous for having a pecking order in which the bottom chicken in the hierarchy is pecked by everyone else and the top chicken is not picked on by anyone. The chicken hierarchy is settled by physical aggression. talking too much. Makes your throat dry. All right, now we're in a verbal society, which is such. It's a human society. So physical aggression is left often used to settle the issues of status. That's just the truth. Um, okay, and these are mostly deferred to verbal interactions. An insult can thus be interpreted as an attempt to reduce the social status of the recipient and raise the relative status of the insulter. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what I keep saying. I know when I deal with it, the person that's sitting there saying, well, you're secular. I'm not. Giving themselves a little pat on the back. I mean, per se, and I don't know how else you can look at that, but it's what it is. Okay, you're secular. My bad. I just, it doesn't matter what I do. Do as I say, not as I do. It rolls around to that. So, if this logic is correct, we can assume that insults are motivated by anger surrounding issues of status and security. Many insults are reactive. They're responsive to real or imagined slights from others, such as a person accidentally cutting in front of someone else in a line. We live in a period of extreme concern about how we are perceived by others. Social psychologists are charting a steady increase in narcissism among college students. There is little consensus about to why this is happening, but some scholars believe that the more children are measured on evaluative scales, aptitude test, IQ scores, GPA, the more sensitive they are to threats in their social rank. I agree and don't agree. I think narcissism is so often misused that it gets so convoluted. And think about this for me, and I'll cover it next week. But it gives everybody something to think about in the meantime. Um, eh, Google, I say this on almost all my other show thingies, but Google using empathy as a weapon. Just Google using empathy as a weapon and think about people you've called narcissistic in your own life. And then see what you gather from using empathy as a weapon. See if any of that is relative to situations you've been through. It's a very interesting thing to do. I believe in it 100%. And and the truth is, very, very few people can truly be diagnosed as narcissists. Um, and it's the way it goes. It's like you always hear another one I hear all the time is, I'm an empath. I was just born an empath. People tell me I'm a natural empath. That's 1 to 2, more on the one side, percent of the entire world's population that can be identified as an empath. So when somebody's saying that to you, here's what I gain from it. When somebody's sitting there telling me repeatedly that they're an empath, I'm like, God help me. Um, I find it disingenuous when somebody needs to tell you that a real empath would. A big telltale sign is an empath is shown by actions, and again, more than likely, um, more than likely, most of us or none of us have ever met a empath in our entire lives. So, of course, I'm just going to read through this for what it's written without my interjection. Of course, this narcissism trend is accentuated by social media, where participants are subject to unrelenting evaluation by other network members who encourage participants to inflate their egos, often at the expense of others. Sorry. Concern with how one is perceived creates social insecurity that may be relieved by lashing out at other chickens or people in the area. Social networks are replete with individuals who deliver stinging rebukes because they enjoy doing so and because they are mostly exempt from the reprisals that one might expect for real world put down. That's the truth. I have a strong background in political science, and some other people do, and stuff that is said. And I hate to say it, but we really can't take political discussions more than skin deep. I mean, my really favorite example I used recently is all the hit outs on Brandon did this, or the stickers on the pump at a gas station. You go from there, and they say Biden's responsible for the gas prices when they rose, and he's not getting much credit now that they're. I don't know. They were 330 today where I'm at in Kentucky, but that's beyond the issue here. As it was quick and easy, and also delusional to blame Biden for the gas pricing issue. Now, if you want to tell it for what it is, it's factual. The gas prices rose 30% during Trump's last year, another 16% when Biden took over. But here's the kicker, even to the Democrats. If you wanted to use that, you can, but you're not telling the whole story. Because the true story is that's global market pricing. I try, and I try to get people to understand this. That price is not set by the presidents. They're not the presidents overseas. They're not the presidents in Japan, Ireland, Scotland, England. This is set by global market pricing. It's the same thing that when your house goes on sale in your neighborhood, they do a competitive market analysis. I'm sure you've heard it as a CMA or something like that. So that's going to be your market pricing for a similar house in a similar neighborhood, similar amenities, and so on. Unless you got a pool, which, by the way, that'll lower your home's price. Because getting one of those covered up is crazy expensive, and nobody wants to take care of them. So if you're not going to live in a house for a lifetime, that's my free advice. I did have a real estate license. I'm actually getting a real estate license now for no other reason than to be there for friends and family. And I'm being serious about that. I have a degree in real estate. But so go along with that. In terms of the automobile business, cars, if I took in a car on trade, so I'm going to look at the auction values, about a 200-mile radius, and and just see, okay, what can I give the customer? What can I get out of an auction if I can't sell it on the lot? So then from there, I'm going to go, okay, well, what's the average price in a 250-mile radius for the same car, same amenities? Let's say a Camry XLE. What's it going for in Louisville, Kentucky? What's it going in for in Cincinnati, Ohio? And go probably all the way up to Nashville, or all the way down to Nashville, and so on and so on. That's market pricing, and that's just the way it goes. It's like you can't expect a house in LA, or let's say San Francisco. That's about it's crazy prices out there. You can't expect a house there to go for the price it's going to go for here. It just doesn't happen that way. So, um, I guess that's my economics lesson. Um, all right. So, um, not all insults are equal, of course. Some pecks miss their mark and have no impact on relative status. So, in the aim, an arrow shot over the house that hits no one. Okay, that's when you're calling me secular. That's pretty much what happens. I mean, you may get my ire up, but then I'll pray it off and be like, why? Well, we live at a time when insults are dispensed so freely that they threaten the financial viability of social media platforms like Twitter, Indeed, and Twitter recently issued a code of conduct for users designed to exclude the worst offenders. Other sites like Facebook have quickly followed suit. All right. I do know this. I've been put in Facebook jail for joking around with a friend, and it happens all the time. I mean, seriously, I'm a white guy, and I got put in Facebook jail for what was it, hate speech or inciting or something, towards Caucasians. I was like, okay. I didn't know such thing. I am white. But that's what happens when you. I mean, you're almost looking at martial law because it's the wild, wild west out there, and that's the way it goes, you know. And I know people hate to hear this. I am a Democrat, as I always say, but let's face the facts that Trump told almost 37,000 lies while he was in the White House, including those on Twitter. So when he finally got banned, it was for inciting a riot because he was live tweeting for them basically to attack. And yeah, that constitutes violence, and it's an iffy subject. I think there needs to be some, but like if you're joking around, I know another time I got in Facebook jail is I told a guy that I've been working with on his substance use disorder that I'd gone by his house like 3 times. He told me he's going to be there. And, you know, just talk to him, check in on him. It's something I like to do. Well, and after the third time he didn't answer, he put up some post on Facebook. I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, dude, if you don't answer next time I come to your door, I'm going to knock your door down. That got me for inciting violence on Facebook. So it's a tricky subject because obviously they don't have enough people, human people, to actually sit there and police the pages. So I don't know a solution for that. I'm not an IT guy. I just don't know what to do, how they can do it. Um, there's an appeal process, but that's about it to it. So, um, mm, mm, all right, this is another one I didn't know, and we were talking about the policing mechanisms on social media and so on. But some are already ingrained into applications such as Uber and Airbnb. Uh, the only problem is that users may ultimately receive online civility score that will boost collective narcissism and make us want to peck our neighbors even more. You know, that's interesting to think about. That's just interesting to think about. I've really got nowhere to go with it. I'm just sitting there thinking if you're getting better scores than your neighbor on your Airbnb, or if you're an Uber driver and you're getting better scores than Larry down who happens to be a neighbor 2 doors down from you, then the envy's going to kick up and the pressure. I know that in my testimony, I mentioned this before, but I deal with a lot of envy for what I don't know. I mean, it cannot have been a worse experience to know you're going to die, to constantly be suffering in pain, to not be able to walk, to be counting minutes looking at a clock, you know, wondering when you're going to expire. But I also say that it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and I wouldn't change it in a heartbeat because that's what got me in my relationship with God. That's the reason I'm alive. That's the reason I'm in school. That's the reason I'm going to be able to excel. That's the reason I'm going to be able to help others in a legitimate license credentials type of way. So I'll go from there and look what I like to do every week. If you've not been here before, is I take the Celebrate Recovery book, which this is kind of like the Christian version of AA, but it's the Christian version. So it's Celebrate Recovery. This is a daily devotional, 365 days, and this is the 30th anniversary. So what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll just open it, like literally just open it. I don't have anything marked. So, and then I just go to read what it is. Today is 2/11, and the title of it is Weird Head Day. So this is from Romans 8:26. Romans 8:26. Romans 8:26 and 27. In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weaknesses. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And He who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God. All right. Here's a devotion. These are just written by individual people. If they take credit, they do. This one's anonymous. I woke up in a funk. Around our house is called a weird head day. There was no real reason for this except I just didn't want to feel I just didn't want to feel better. My mood was telling me that I wanted to be miserable and make everyone around me miserable as well. My wife saw what was happening and asked me what I could do to feel better. She was trying to get me to pick up some of my recovery tools. Um, I take it by that recovery tools, I mean coping skills. But I quickly answered, "There's nothing to do. I don't even think God wants to hear from me today." She responded by saying, "Really? God doesn't want to hear from you? Is that how you would treat your children when they're having a bad day?" Her words woke me up. I realized it was time to stop feeling sorry for myself. We prayed together, and before long, the black cloud hanging over my head lifted. We are all in a spiritual battle, but God has given us the spiritual armor to wear and recovery tools to help us. Prayer is the number one tool to use on some of those weird head days. The prayer for this is, Father, thank you for giving me everything I need to live joyously every day. Forgive me for when I choose to forget and give away to moodiness. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, I mean, literally, that to me is pretty magical how I always turn to it. And today I was having kind of a weird head day. I'm human and I get fed up with some of the silliness and the nonsense because to me it's very high school like. And, again, part of my battle in being a soldier of Christ is, you know, there's stigmas for mental health. There's stigmas for substance abuse or substance use. There's stigmas for Christianity. Now, one of those is easier to fix than the rest of them, and that would be the stigmas that surround Christianity. And what we need to do is really look at putting a focus on and fighting against the hypocrisy. So, in turn, where this whole thing went today is secular. Here's the absolute truth. Secular, if it is a separation of church and state, um, which is one of the main definitions for it right there, that would mean every preacher we've got out there who's pulling for a politician secular, and they're the same ones telling you about the secular world. This is a problem. This is why it's easy for people to say, and I just don't trust your Christian ways. They're too hypocritical. The hypocrisy runs rampant, and I flat out tell people when they ask me why the church is so hypocritical, I say I don't know, but I don't blame you for saying that. Here's my story, which my story can plant a seed because I can strongly tell you, faith absolutely picked me up off that floor, got me to walking again, healed my liver, which is unheard of. It doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. I had end stage cirrhosis. I should be dead, and I'm not. And that is the grace of God. That is the truth of God. So when I march on this battle now, is I don't do it to be that do as I say, not as I do. I've done as much wrong as I can imagine, but um, now I live by actions and I live by the Lord. And I think it's pretty important and it's pretty joyous life to have. Um, so with that said, I'm out of here for this week, and I'll look forward to seeing you all next week. And hopefully, I'll have a guest with me next week. So it's just not my opinion, but we'll get some more word of mouth in here. All right. So good night. Love you all. And bye.